All right, let's talk about cameras. In order to look at the camera settings, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click these little double arrows here to get a docking station. Take this brush menu out of here. Just go ahead and click that circle thing if you have a menu already over there. Then we're going to take our draw menu where all our camera settings are found, and we can just drag that white dot over here, and now we have the draw menu docked to the side. We have perspective turned on. You can hit P to turn that on and off, and by default, when you have perspective turned on, this universal camera perspective is going to be enabled. If you want to go back to ZBrush camera, you can turn this off, but probably you just want to leave that on. If you know the computations for your focal length for your camera is set horizontally or vertically, you can set that here. You can also dial in what focal length millimeter is using these presets, or you can just click and drag this slider around, or you can just type in here, you can say 50 and hit enter. You can also change the field of view, and if you know the crop factor, if your camera has a smaller sensor and you know what the crop factor is, you can dial that in here. You also have this lock camera. Your lock camera button might be over here, but you can turn this on under the draw menu as well, and now I won't be able to move my camera at all. However, you do now have camera undos and redos, so as I'm moving this model around, if I'm like, oh, I want to go back to that camera where I was originally, just click this undo button, and there you go, you're back to where you started. When I hover over this, you're going to see that I have shift and comma assigned to undo camera. If you want to assign your own hotkeys, just hold down Control Alt and tap it, and then enter in your own hotkey designation. So you can see as I move this thing around, all I got to do is do shift, comma, and that'll snap it back to the original camera view. You can also now export these cameras. So if we go to Z plugin here, and we'll just drag this over on top of the draw menu, we can go to FBX export. Then you're going to see by default it sets to FBX 2016. Just click on these things, these buttons here if you want to change that. You can also click and see if you want to do Maya, Z up, Y up, 3D Studio Max, Toolbag Unity, a bunch of different options in here. And if you go down here to FBX export options, you're going to see export camera is on. And if you only want to export the camera, you can say only. As well as when you import FBXs, you can tell it to import the camera or import only the camera. Once you have this set up, you can export your FBX and then import it into any other external program, and it'll go ahead and load up your camera. One real easy program for me to show you the camera usage would be Keyshot, because I can use the Keyshot bridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up my document size for Keyshot. So we're going to go out of edit mode, hit Control N, go into document here, and make sure proportion is turned off, because we're going to do 1280 and then hit tab and then 720, hit resize, and then go ahead and drag your object back out. And in order to see this background a little bit better, I'm going to go in here to document, choose the background, and we're just going to pick a slightly lighter color. As you can see, this is the actual bounds of my document now. So we'll get our object all set up, get the camera exactly where we want it, and then I'm going to go over here to render. Make sure under external render we have Keyshot turned on, and then I can hit BPR. That'll go ahead and load up Keyshot for me. And you're going to see we have it's 1280 by 720, and I have a free camera and a ZBrush camera. Now this free camera, I'm free to just move this around however I'd like, but all I got to do is double click the ZBrush camera, and that'll snap me right back to where I should be. So if you want to know more information about the ZBrush bridge and Keyshot in general, you can go to the ZBrush to Keyshot bridge quick start on my YouTube channel, and then I'll get you caught up. Let's go ahead and exit out of Keyshot here. And one more thing I want to mention is right at the very top of the screen, it's actually being cut off right now. I'm going to move this down just a little bit. You're going to see there's an AC indicator. So if you zoom in here, it's going to be, it's going to say, as we get too close to this object, it's going to turn on auto cropping. So as I get closer to this object, AC is going to turn on. Essentially, when the camera gets too close to your model, it turns this zoom factor on to simulate a true 3D zoom. Let's go ahead and undo that brush stroke there. And this also helps mitigate camera deformation and unexpected navigation issues. So just be aware of that. If you get too close to your model, that may throw off your focal length if you were to export that as one of your cameras. Further down in the draw menu towards the bottom, you're going to see you have a select camera and a store camera, and rename and delete and some arrow keys. This allows you to create multiple cameras within ZBrush. So if you like this camera here, you can say, let's store this camera, and we'll go ahead and name it front 3/4. And then if we go to the back here, let's go ahead and store this camera, and we'll call this one back 3/4. So now we have a back 3/4 and a front 3/4. If we click this name here, you're going to see we can choose between two of these cameras here. If we want to rename this one, we can, and we'll just rename this front. If we want to switch between these, we can just use the arrow keys to switch between front and back. And of course, you can store more than that. If you want to store like a top here, we can go ahead and go to top here, store it. And then again, now you got 3 to pick from, and then you can use these arrow keys to go through here. And if you decide, hey, you know what, I don't want the top one, just select the top, hit delete, and that'll go ahead and delete it for you. Now, when you store all these camera settings, you can save that as a Z project. If you just want to store a dummy file, if you go to File, Save As with no meshes, if you go to Subtool here and we say Delete All, you can set up the right document that you want with the right camera settings you want, and then just do File, Save As, and if you save it into your, if you click on any of these, you can see the path. If you save it into this path here, you can always pull in this dummy camera file project, and you can get started that way.